I have a big long list to get through. My name's Taylor. I am a senior student teacher this year, so I've had a full year of experience, and I feel like I have some pretty good tips and advice if you're just starting out, because if you're like me, when I started I had absolutely no idea what to expect, and I was really hard on myself when things went wrong. So I just have some tips and advice if you're starting out to hopefully make you feel better and motivate you. Number one is everything is a learning experience. So for example, if you get placed with a teacher that you kind of feel like you're not vibing with, or that you're like, what is happening in here? Just take it as a learning experience, because I know that there were a couple teachers that I was just like, last year, and I was really discouraged, and I felt like, what am I going to learn in here? How is this helpful to me? I want to get out of here and be in a different classroom. And I think it's just good to take it as a learning experience and try and learn things that maybe you don't want to do, or things that aren't working in that classroom, and just use it as a learning experience to make yourself better in that way. Another one that I have learned is don't be afraid to ask questions. I sometimes feel like I can be annoying with the amount of questions I ask, because especially going in last year, I had no idea what most things were. There were a lot of teachers that would use like teacher vocabulary and like acronyms, and I was like, what does that mean? So don't ever feel like you're gonna say something stupid or ask too many questions or stupid questions, because these are things that you need to know, and if you're wondering, then feel free to ask. Ask your mentor teacher, ask anyone in the school if you have any questions, and don't be afraid to say, I have a quick question, or anything like that, because it's definitely helped me a lot. I think when I first started, I was really scared to ask questions because I didn't want them to think I didn't know anything, but I think a lot of teachers appreciate it, and also a lot of teachers, it's been a while since they were a student teacher, so they forget that you're coming in with not a lot of background information. Next one is step out of your comfort zone. When I first started last year, I was so nervous. I didn't want to make any mistakes. I didn't want to look stupid, and so I feel like I just did like, I know this is bad, but I did like the very minimal when I was being observed or doing a lesson, because I was so nervous to mess up. And I think when you start stepping out of your comfort zone and trying new things with your lessons and not being afraid to mess up, that's when you start to sort of get a feel for what kind of teacher you're going to be and what works for you. Another tip is to walk around the school and talk to other teachers, more than just your mentor teacher. Talk to the administrators, ask questions, because I felt like last year, especially my first mentor teacher, I had 4 last year. The first one, I was just sort of like glued to her, and I was like terrified I didn't know anything, so I just stuck to her. And this year as a senior, I have stepped out of the classroom I'm in. I've talked to almost every single teacher in the school. I've asked them questions. I've asked them where they bought things. I've asked them what they like about the school. Last year, I talked to counselors there. I talked to the school psychologist. I talked to administrators, just to sort of get a feel for what they do. And when I'm a teacher, I want to know exactly what everyone else's job is, so that I have resources for myself and for my students. And this I feel like I sort of already talked about, but don't expect to be perfect. I think last year I was really down on myself when I wasn't perfect. If I messed up, I got really embarrassed and really sweaty and really discouraged. And I think you just need to realize that no one starts out a perfect teacher, and no one becomes a perfect teacher. So it's okay to mess up. You've never done it before. And I've had a year of experience, and I still get really discouraged when I mess up and like flustered, and it's hard to recover. But I think if you just realize that if you make a mistake, it happened, and you just learn from it and do it better next time. And if not, it's going to be a really long journey, and you're going to be really discouraged, because it is impossible to be perfect when you are just starting out. Even once you've had years of experience, it's impossible to be perfect. So just accept mistakes and just roll with it. Another important thing is to create relationships. Last year, starting out, again, I was very nervous and really unsure of myself and what to do and what was okay to do. And I think the most important thing, besides learning how to be a teacher in this whole journey, is to make relationships and to make that community for yourself so that it's something you always remember, and so that when you leave, you've left an impression on the students and the teachers, and you feel like you've actually made a difference. Something that I have just been starting to learn is to try different things. So when you're doing lessons, I think what you'll first learn is that it needs to be like black and white. Like, you need to have an opening, you need to have a hook, you need to have like an independent work session, a group session, and a closing, the end. But what I've realized is it's almost easier and more fun for you and the students if you try different things. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, you just learn from it. But get them involved, do hands-on activities, play games. I just recently did a lesson where I had them use hula hoops on the floor, and they were numbered, and I would give them something like 2 + 4, so they would jump out to the second hula hoop and then jump 4 more and tell me what the problem was. And that was something new that I had never done before. I was really nervous, I didn't know how it would work, and they ended up loving it, and it was so much fun for them and for me. This was something that I really struggled with, is asking for constructive feedback. When I first started, if I ever got any sort of constructive criticism, I would like self-destruct and feel miserable and like I failed. And I think now I've learned that constructive feedback really helps you, because you can only learn so much from a class and from a textbook, and when you're actually in the field and you're asking your teacher or your supervisor, like, what can I improve on, how can I make it better, it actually does help you, and then you realize what you need to work on and how you can fix it. And it's not necessarily like a judgment of you as a person, because you're still learning, but it really helps you grow. So I think the sooner I realized that it was to help me and not to hurt me, then I really became obsessed with like getting constructive feedback, because it helped me next time and I knew what to work on. And it's still not easy to get constructive feedback, because you're like, okay, but it really does help you feel more confident next time. Another thing that it took me a pretty long time to realize last year was it's okay to ask for help, because if you're in a program like I'm in, it's a lot of work with the classes and then all the stuff you have to do in the field. It's just so much, and you're going to become overwhelmed. I can promise you it'll be overwhelming, and it's okay to ask for help from your supervisor. If you're confused, you ask your supervisor, ask your professors, ask your peers, the other students who are going out into the field, ask them what they're doing, ask seniors, because they know and they've been through it. And I don't feel like I utilized the help and resources that I had last year enough. And this year I'm really working on getting a lot of help from my supervisor, asking her what I should do, same with my professors and my peers, like really collaborating and working together, because on your own, if you don't ask for help, it's a lot. Another thing that I learned is it's very important to be flexible and open-minded, because stuff is gonna change and unexpected things are gonna happen, and if you are just set in, this is the classroom I'm in, this is where I'm going next, and this is what's gonna happen, then when changes occur, you're gonna be like, oh, wait a minute. And I had a lot of changes happen last year. I think only my first 2 teachers they're the only ones that actually stayed the same from the beginning, and then the whole rest of my schedule, the classrooms and stuff changed. And so I had to just accept it and not get too like freaked out and stressed out that it was changing. And you really have to be flexible, because if you're in a program like me, you have to work with lots of different people, in your classes, and you don't always get to choose your group, so you need to be flexible with working with lots of different people. And it's good to have control in group projects, but you have to also be flexible and accepting of other people so that you're not too controlling, if that makes sense. It's also super important to be able to communicate. I just think that you need to keep everyone involved in what's happening with you, the decisions you're making, what's happening in the classroom you're in. You need to talk to your mentor and talk to your supervisor about what your mentor says, and just keep everyone in the loop so that no one's like, oh, I didn't know that was happening, you should have told me sooner. For example, last year I went to introduce myself to my third mentor teacher, and when I walked in, she was like, oh, I already have a mentor for this next coming period. It's a senior and I don't think I'm supposed to have you. And so I was like, what? And instead of just freaking out, I had to take a minute and like, okay, I have to communicate here and I have to speak up for myself. So I went straight to the principal and I told him the issue. I told him that I was supposed to be in that classroom, but there was a senior in there and I wasn't sure what to do. And he was really appreciative of me communicating and working things out and going straight to him. And he was very helpful with getting me a different teacher and explaining everything. And I think that really says a lot about a person and makes you memorable, especially to principals who are looking for new teachers. They remember stuff like that. So, okay, so now more on to like the organization stuff. Keep track of everything. Last year, I felt like I would complete assignments and then I have no idea where they went on my computer, or like lesson plans I did, I would just completely forget where they were on my computer, or they would magically disappear. And then towards the end of the year, my professors were like, okay, you're gonna be putting everything in a portfolio. And I was like, I don't know where any of that stuff is. So make sure you keep like a folder on your computer or print everything out, whatever you need to do. Keep track of everything you do, because I can promise you, you will use it. Another thing that I actually started this year is taking note of things that I like that I want to use when I have my own classroom. Taking note of resources that teachers use, like online websites where they get things, videos they show, a list of books that I want to buy. So I have a notebook that I have with me at all times when I'm at the elementary school. The first page is classroom management, so I just write down things that I see other teachers doing that I'm like, oh, I want to use that. Like one of them is phone timers for transitions. At the school I'm at, a lot of the teachers set timers on their phones so that they don't ever go over with a lesson. So I think that's really helpful. Classroom decor, I don't have a lot on this one because most of my ideas for classroom decor are on Pinterest. And then I have classroom organization, which I also haven't written anything, but just if you see something that you like that another teacher's doing. And this is the big one, resources. So if I see something in a classroom and I'm like, walk up to the teacher and I'm like, oh my gosh, where did you get that? When she tells me, I immediately write it down. So I have orientaltrading.com, Schoolgirl Style, which is on Instagram, Lakeshore Learning, School Outfitters, because they have the stools that I want, IKEA, and I also found this thing called, I think it's called Art for Kids Hub, and it's like these YouTube tutorials of drawings. These are really cool. And that's it for that. But I just think it's a really good idea to write everything down, because last year I was like, oh, I like that, I'll just remember that. And now I don't remember any of the things that I liked from last year, and I really wish I would have written them down. Another very important thing is to plan. Keep a planner with you at all times, because you're going to have like 4 or 5 syllabi for your classes, all with different dates for assignments, on top of assignments for when you're in your elementary school and you have observations. And it's impossible every week to look through each one and see what needs to be due. So what I do is, when we get our syllabi, I go through and write down the dates in my planner that I know aren't going to change. And then weekly, I go through and write down homework that needs to be done before the next week, or assignments I need to start working on, and that really helps a lot. Another thing that I have already mentioned in a previous video is to use PowerPoint for worksheets that you have to make, not Word. It took me a long time to figure that out. Word is so much more difficult to make worksheets on, and PowerPoint, you just change the dimensions and make it to like a paper size, so that's 8.5 by 11, and it's so much easier to add word art and move it wherever you want. The text box, it's just so much easier to navigate, so use PowerPoint to make your worksheets. This is another big tip. Use practical bags. So last year I just tried to be cute and I had several shoulder bags that didn't work at all, and I ended up just carrying my book bag, and because you're gonna have a lot to carry, a lot of things you need to keep with you, and it's gonna get dirty. So don't get anything that's like white cloth, because I promise it's gonna get dirty. So this year I have found this bag, and it's like almost like raincoat material, and it's black, so it's not gonna get dirty, and it fits a lot of things inside of it. It's got a lot of pockets and it zips, so I definitely recommend. This is from Amazon, I'll link it down below. This is my lunchbox from last year. As you can see, it is disgusting. I thought it was so cute, this cream colored cloth, and within a couple months it was nasty. And this is still something I'm working on, the lunchbox deal, because now I have this one, which I can guarantee is not gonna get super dirty, you won't be able to tell, but it's way too small. I have to take like 2 or 3 snacks and my lunch, and it doesn't all fit in here. So I'm still looking for the perfect teacher lunchbox. I will keep you updated. Take your time at the beginning of the school year to walk the school and figure out where everything is, find all the teacher bathrooms, find the copy room, ask about the laminator, how it can be used, find all the teachers' rooms, go to the front office and ask for a copy of the map, because I think I was at my last school for like half the year before I realized that I probably needed a map, because I was always so confused about where everything was because I didn't take the time to walk the school. I can remember like the first couple weeks my teacher was like, "Do you mind walking them to art?" And I was like, "Sure." We got in the hallway and I was like, I don't know where art is. So make sure that you know where everything is, and if not, ask where it is, because that will help you out and it will also make you feel more comfortable in the school. Okay, so now we're moving on to like the relax. You need to relax. It is a lot, and last year I just constantly stayed on top of myself. I need to get this done, I need to get this done, I can't take a break because I have to do this for tomorrow. And if you act that way, you are going to immediately become burnt out. So you need to take the time for yourself, even if it's just Friday nights, to relax. Put everything away, don't look at any school stuff. Light some candles, watch a movie, go on a walk, go to sleep. You just need to make sure that you have some sort of time each week that you're not thinking about student teaching or classes or planning or doing schoolwork, because if you are constantly doing it, you're gonna get so burnt out. If you start to feel yourself getting the burnout, exhausted, frustrated, you just need to drop everything, because I know last year I would start to feel that way and I was like, I have to get this done, it's due in 2 days, I have to do it now, and I would just get so frustrated and burn out, and like I just didn't want to be doing it. That now I know that it's okay to take 10 minutes, an hour, whatever you have to not think about it, because you need to take space from the schoolwork and the stress and take care of yourself before anything. Another tip I have is, if you're starting to feel that burnout, you're not motivated, you're just like blah, which I definitely felt, start watching teachers on YouTube, because it's very motivating. My favorite right now is I think it's Hello Third Grade, I'm not sure, I'll link her down below. But she is so positive and so excited to be in the classroom. I love her strategies, and I just watch her in the morning because it gets me excited to go to school and gets me in that like school mindset. But it really helps to have people to look up to and inspire you when you're starting to feel like this is exhausting. Another thing to remember, and this is something that my supervisors always say and the people in charge of my program, you're on a 2-year interview. If your program is 1 year, it's a 1-year interview, but you need to keep that in mind every day, that people in the schools are watching you, administrators are watching you, and you really are on a 2-year interview. When you go to apply to your job when you graduate, that school is going to call the previous principals where you student taught, so you need to make sure that you're always dressed professionally, that even if you don't feel like it, you have a smile on your face, you're grateful. A thing that I started doing this year is carrying note cards around with me, so whenever I talk to a teacher who's just super helpful and takes the time out of their day to answer my questions and give me advice, I will leave them a thank you note, because it's just nice, and also it's memorable to them. And the more you make relationships in your schools, the more resources you'll have once you graduate, so you can talk to your old mentor teachers, talk to your old administrators, get their help, use the resources to open up opportunities for you. I don't think I mentioned this, but be consistent, because it will really help you. So like, I have tried to be consistent with my binder covers, because it just helps me when I'm looking at them and everything's consistent, and it's more impressive to your supervisors and your principals if they see that you're consistent and you're organized. So I have, like, that has my school name on it. I have these tabs that I always use. I don't know if you can see them, I just like cover stuff up. But I print them out so that it looks more organized. I also try to use bright colors if at all possible, and keep everything organized, because I think organization and professional looking labels and stuff also puts you just a step above the game. And my last tip is to reward yourself. Whether it's every day, once a week, once a month, just reward yourself, because becoming a teacher is hard work, and it's stressful, it's exhausting, and I think that it's important that you reward yourself for continuing to keep going and getting up every morning. So reward yourself, whether it's with a new t-shirt, or stuff for your future classroom, or even just taking a night out of the week or out of the month to completely do what you want to do and relax. It's important that you take care of yourself and reward yourself for all the hard work you're doing, because it's something to be proud of. That was a lot of talking. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any more questions, please let me know. I will link my teacher bag down below and Hello 3rd Grade down below. You should check her out. She's very motivating. And thank you for watching.